All right, here we go. Lord Jamar, welcome back.
Vlad, what's poppin'?
Everything good, man. I see you got some new merch on.
Yeah, you know how we do. Peace to the gods. Brand Nubian merch. Go get that shit at hoodg.com. You know what I mean? We got the... Oh, yeah. That's how we do.
Well, speaking of Brand Nubian, me and you had this conversation the other day, but, let's go ahead and make it public. I was listening to the first album the other day.
Okay.
And listening to your first single, Slow Down.
Well, that wasn't our first single, but it was...
It was your first music video, first hit single?
We had Wake Up, which was that was pretty big. That was, our first big single, I'd say.
Okay, Slow Down is when I became familiar.
Okay.
With Brand Nubian. I was on the West Coast. Yo MTV Raps was pretty
that
much
was
my
the one
only...
that really was like national.
There you go. So I was thinking about Grand Puba's line. And what's the line that I'm thinking about?
A real gold winner, just like Bruce Jenner. Lay the bitch on the bed and then you run right in her.
Now, I was thinking this line would have to be changed in 2019.
Right.
So I asked you whether Puba changed his line when doing shows. And you said...
Yes, he does. He says a real gold winner like Caitlyn Jenner. But for the record, and this is my man, I love Puba, I don't really like when he says that, though. You know what I mean? So you will hear at the shows, there will be he'll say Caitlyn, and I'll still say Bruce Jenner. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm not conforming. Just the same way they're not going to make me say, call a he, a she, and you know what I mean? A she, a he. I'm not calling Bruce Caitlyn. That's Bruce. I don't give a fuck what dress he got on, what high heels he's walking around in. That's my nigga from the Wheaties box, and that's who the fuck he's always gonna be. Okay? But yes,
so
Puba does change it, to update the line a little bit. All right, it's cool.
So if you ever see him out, you'd be like, "What up, Bruce?"
Well, first of all, I don't know if I'd be like, "What up?" But I'd be like, "Yo, that's Bruce Jenner." I'm not gonna be like, whoever I'm talking, yo, that's that nigga Bruce Jenner right there. I'm gonna be like, that's Caitlyn Jenner. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, so when Puba changes his line, how does the crowd usually react?
I don't think they even paying attention to that. They're so enthralled in the whole moment of what's going on. They're not keying in on that main line because right after that, there's a line where he says, Puba makes no mistakes. She said, rock me tonight, and now the whole crowd is like, for old time's sakes. So they're more waiting for that line than thinking about some Caitlyn Jenner line.
Yeah, man, well, that's a classic song. Slow Down. What was the sample from? That one girl.
Edie Brickell.
Edie Brickell.
And the New Bohemians.
And the name of the song was?
What I Am, I believe.
What I Am is What I Am. Yeah. Which was a hit.
It was a hit at that time. That's what was so ill that we sampled it. Because it was a contemporary hit when we sampled it. And that's a hip-hop thing to do, but at that time, a lot of hip-hop people wasn't doing that. Like back in the days, let's say when Sugar Hill Gang first came out, right? With Rapper's Delight. Good Times was out, was a hit on the radio at that time. And that kind of helped the popularity of the Sugar Hill Gang's record. And so a lot of dope records would come out in the 80s and rappers would get right on it. Like I'm talking, they'd have a record maybe the next week if it was a fucking hit. You know what I mean? And then, I don't know, we kind of got away from that in hip-hop. Niggas just started sampling all kind of obscure shit, and we wasn't so much like jumping right on the hot R&B songs or whatever was hot at the time. So that was almost kind of bringing back an old school way of thinking in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that was a pop record. That was like a top 40 pop record.
Right.
And I think Puffy kind of sort of brought that aesthetic back to hip hop. Remember, he had that one, take hits from the 80s, make them sound so crazy. Because at that point, it was more like, before then, was like digging in the crates. You had to find that obscure jazz record of some dude that no one had heard of. And, you know, people would hide records from each other. And it was like that was sort of the vibe in hip hop.
Right, but like I'm saying, in the early vibe, like when you talk about Sugar Hill Gang, or even let's talk about the Treacherous 3, Heartbeat. Remember that record, Heartbeat, by the Treacherous 3? Mm-hmm. That's from a popular record at the time called Heartbeat by Tanya Gardner. And it was a contemporary record. It was out at the time that they made that record. You know, these James Brown records was years when we sampling them. It's not like James Brown had put some shit out a couple weeks before and then we sampled it and capitalized off that. But that's kind of like what we was doing, some of the records in the early days of hip hop, which a lot of people wasn't there for, so they don't know about this shit. So, history.
Yeah, man. Well, great song, great album. For anyone out there who's saying that Lord Jamar has not contributed anything to hip hop, you're probably not old enough to remember the immense contribution that those first few Brand Nubian albums made.
Oh, and I saw you put Grand Puba on your lyricist licks too, and that was because a lot of people try to forget, but Grand Puba, that nigga was Jay-Z, he was Drake, he was all of them type of motherfuckers when he was out. So you better give respect to my man.
Yeah, and also sort of a crossover R&B rapper, you know, because he was doing shit with Mary J. Blige. What's the 411? Was a huge hit
shit at that time. Like, yeah, he was ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time, absolutely, man. So if you make a top 50 list, you don't include Grand Puba, you're bugging.
Yeah, you bugging.